These books are the sole reason that I am currently writing books. Hello bookish friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Eve from the Bookish Eve, and today we are going to talk about some of my all-time favorite fantasy books. I am mostly a fantasy and romantasy reader. I rarely read other genres, although I'm trying to expand my tastes a little bit. Like, I would guess 85% of my book collection are fantasy books, and I thought also what better way than for you to get to know me than with my all-time favorite fantasy books. Starting off with Shatter Me. I have such a deeply personal connection to these books. I read them when I was 13 or 14, and they shaped me as a person so much. I read them when I was on vacation in Italy, and I was laying in bed reading them, and I finished reading them and I read them again, the same vacation. And these books are the reason why I love reading and writing. I have always read a lot, but these books are the sole reason that I am currently writing books. It all started with this writing style because I had never read anything like this before, and I still haven't read anything like it. I guess it's kind of like hard to read, and now it kind of seems a little bit cliche when we are older. It's been 10 years since I read this series, but I just can't part with it. I did a reread of them 2 years ago, and I still really enjoyed them. I never read book 4, 5, or 6 in the series, though I really want to, because I've been kind of scared, because for me the third book ends with like a perfect ending. Everything is as it should be. In my opinion, it's kind of an open end, but it's good. It's a good ending. And I'm kind of scared that the last 3 books are going to ruin this, and that they're going to ruin the series and what the series means to me. Because when I read them and when it started to mean so much to me, obviously, that was 10 years ago. I was 14. But anyway, this will always be one of my favorite books, and I will always treasure these memories and these books and hold them really close to my heart. Next, we have the Vampire Academy books and the Bloodlines books. I will put the English covers somewhere here, but Vampire Academy and Bloodlines are some of my all-time favorite series. Each of the series is 6 books, and the spin-off series is connected to the original series, so it would be really important to read Vampire Academy first, and then after that read the Bloodline series. But these books mean so much to me. I reread them every year, and a book needs to be really, really good that I reread it so often. And there's just something special about these books, especially the two main characters in both of the series are so different. They couldn't be more different. And I find it insanely interesting and admirable that the author was able to write such different characters with such different inner voices and make them both so lovable and so unique in their own way. So if you don't know what this book is about, Vampire Academy is about a girl. She's called Rose Hathaway, and she's half vampire, half human. And she and her best friend Lisa Dragomir, who is a princess in this vampire world, they ran away from school. And so the book starts with them being out in the normal world, and then they get dragged back into the school, and now they're kind of facing disciplinary action because they ran away and they told no one. And so people have been worried, and also people have been angry, and people have been wondering, why did you run away? Because there was no apparent reason for them to be running away. But anyway, Rose is half human, half vampire, and that means she is a guardian. So she goes to school there to learn defense and everything, so she can protect her best friend Lisa someday against the evil vampires. And the evil vampires are the Strigoi. Those are the vampires, the stereotypical vampires who kill people and hunt people and can only be out by night. While the Moroi, which are the nice vampires, if you can say that, they only drink a little bits of blood from people who are willing to give it. There's like this whole thing. So they get dragged back to the school, and Rose is supposed to continue her learning. She missed an entire year of school. So she gets assigned this guy that's supposed to help train her in her free time so that she can get back on the level that the other students are at. And this guy is called Dmitry Belikov. And he's her teacher, basically. He's 24, I think, and she's 17, which is a little bit problematic, I know. But anyway, it is forbidden romance. They aren't allowed to be together, and She is this really snarky, headstrong, impulsive girl. She loves fighting. And it's just a really fun story and a really fun character because she's really amazing. And a bunch of weird things start happening in this school around Lisa and Rose and Dimitri also. And so they kind of have to figure out what is going on here and is it dangerous? Is it dangerous? Yeah, it's dangerous, obviously, but this is a 6-book series and I love all of the books so much. It definitely is a slow burn. I think in both series it takes a couple, like 2 to 3 books to be together. Sometimes maybe even more, but it is really a slow burn with so much tension and yearning. And I feel like we should bring this back. This is an old book series and I think we should bring back tension and yearning and slow burn like they did in those books a long time ago. And Bloodlines is a spin-off with 2 characters that we get to meet in Vampire Academy. It's about... Is this a spoiler? I'm gonna give a slight spoiler warning. So if you don't want to know who from the old series ends up together, you can skip to the next book. I will put the time up here somewhere so you can skip there. But anyway, this book is about Adrian Ivashkov and Sydney Sage. Adrian Ivashkov is a Moroi, he is a vampire and he's also Rose Hathaway's ex-boyfriend. At the end of Vampire Academy, he has a broken heart, he's not doing well. He's kind of this tortured artist character. And Sydney is the rational type. She's an alchemist, and alchemists are kind of a secret society whose task it is to hide the vampiric activity from the human world. So they kind of clean up after hunters and they clean up after strigoi who leave dead people everywhere. And so she hates vampires for good reason. And then she gets assigned a job. So every alchemist, sometimes they get given jobs. She used to be in St. Petersburg. Now she's assigned to Los Angeles, which is a weird place for vampires because not much happening there. The sun is very bright. It is light most of the day and strigoi can't go there for obvious reasons. And strigoi don't really tend to often go there. So she thinks it's a perfect assignment. And also her assignment is to protect someone. We also know this someone from the previous books. She is a girl and she needs protecting because there's people who are out for her life and people who want to kill her own people even. And so she needs protection and Sydney is assigned to protect her and Adrian as well, though Sydney doesn't know that. And then they end up in the same city and they kind of have to work together and Sydney has to go to the same school as this girl does, and so she's near vampires, which is really hard for her because she hates vampires. Vampires are evil and disgusting and terrible creatures, but so she kind of learns through living with them that they're not that bad and they're nice people and they don't deserve everything that's happening. If I had to pick favorites between Vampire Academy and Bloodlines, I would definitely pick Bloodlines. I love this. This is also forbidden love. She definitely hates him for what he is and knows that she could never be with him because of what he is. She's a human and he's a vampire. That just isn't possible in her world. Isn't possible in her world, and actually not even in the vampire world. Not even in the vampire world. People don't tend to do relationships with humans and vampires. They're there to protect her and then everything unravels from there. And it's just such an interesting story and such a heartbreaking story as well. There's like a few things in this book that actually made me so angry reading it that I still can't get over it. And I'm really looking forward to rereading these next year again, all 12 of them. So if you haven't picked this up, please let this be your sign to pick these books up. I truly couldn't live without having read these. This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. Same author as Shatter Me, but such vastly different writing styles. It was actually a shock to me because I had only read Shatter Me by her and then I picked this one up and this was so amazing but in a totally different way. And that was really interesting to me because I don't think that writing style from Shatter Me would have worked in any other book. I think it only worked in Shatter Me and it was fun because it was done once. But this was so interesting. I have only read this one of the series, so please don't spoil me. The writing style, I connected to the writing style so much and to these two people that I closed the book when I read it and I wanted to reread it immediately. This gave me all the feelings that I want in a fantasy romance book. And I feel like we've been lacking that in the fantasy romance or the romantasy department. We've been lacking these kinds of feelings and the slow burn and everything. So this is like a Persian, I think, inspired story about a girl who's actually queen and has to go into hiding. She's hiding as a servant girl and she has to do all kinds of things as a servant girl. And then she kind of crosses paths with Kamran, who is the prince of the country. And both of them know that nothing could ever happen between these two because she's a serving girl and he's a prince. But he doesn't know that she's a queen and she can't really let him know because there's been fighting between his people and her people for literally millennia. And so this is also kind of forbidden love. Can you see a theme there? Forbidden love is like my one favorite trope of all time. Even surpassing enemies to lovers, forbidden love does just something to me. And this was so amazing that I wanted to put it back and reread it again immediately after finishing it. And I'm hoping that the other books of the series are gonna give me the same feeling because I have just been craving a really, really good fantasy romance story with lots of fantasy and not so much romance. And I know the fourth one is coming out soon, and I think I will then be reading all of the books that I've missed so far. I just think that if you haven't ever heard anything of this book, which is not very probable, but anyway, if you've never heard of this book, please give it a try. This is so amazing. This was an instant 6-star read for me. I can't wait to do a reread. Next we have Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is a dreamy fantasy romance story with such an incredible story. It had found family elements in it, and it was incredibly, incredibly touching and heartwarming. The main character of this book is Laszlo Strange, Strange the Dreamer. He loves stories and secrets. And there's this city called Weep, where no one knows the real name, and there's a lot of secrets that are going around this town, and he wants nothing more than to see it for himself. And so when the opportunity arises, he gets to go there, and that's like his biggest dream, and he wants to know why can no one remember the name of the city. It is an amazing story about Laszlo and Sarai and all of their friends and family. I'm really looking forward to rereading this again as well. I have to admit I don't remember a lot of it anymore because it's been a while since I've read them, but I cried a lot. These books made me cry a lot, and there was some twists that I didn't see coming at all, and it was just such a good story. And I also think everyone should pick this up at least once in their lives. Kind of in the same area with libraries and magical characters, we have Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I just recently read this and it ruined my life in a good way. I cannot stop thinking about these characters. I cannot stop thinking about Elizabeth and Nathaniel and Silas. And I cannot stop thinking about the books and the magic and the grimoires and all of these characters in the books and everything that's happened. This is a standalone fantasy with 450 pages, and it felt like 1,000 or more. There was so much happening. This was so incredibly fast-paced and fun, but it's also about fighting even when the fight seems hopeless, and always fighting even when it seemed hopeless again and again and again, and still always fighting. These characters just touched something in me and I can't forget them. This is about a girl named Elizabeth. She is an orphan. She's growing up in a magical library. She grew up in one of them. And they don't hold ordinary books. They don't hold lifeless books like these. They hold grimoires. And grimoires full of magic. And they can talk. And they have their weird little quirks. And you kind of get to love the grimoires as well. And there's also dangerous grimoires. Elizabeth wants to become a warden, which means that she will be one of those people protecting the world from the most dangerous grimoires. But then an act of sabotage releases one of the most dangerous grimoires of this library, and she is implicated in the crime. So she has to go to the country's capital and stand trial for what people believe is her crime. And everyone believes those people, and everyone believes that Elizabeth is guilty, except Nathaniel. And Nathaniel is a sorcerer. And in the library, Elizabeth grew up with thinking that all sorcery is evil, all grimoires are evil, everything that's magic is evil and of demons. And so that is why it's evil, because you can only have magic if you use demons to gain magic. And obviously, demons are evil. And so everything kind of goes from there, everything unravels, and she finds out that there's something much larger at stake than just her library and her life, but also the other libraries and maybe even the world itself. And so she and Nathaniel kind of have to figure out what to do because no one believes her. And yeah, this was an insane story, and I cried so much. I cried so much for these characters. I love them. I love them so much with all of my heart. And I think everyone's lives would be better if they had read this book. I cannot say it often enough. I think that goes for all of these books. I think if you haven't read these books yet, your life would be better if you did. So please do. We have The Night and the Moth. What a surprise. I think this is a favorite for a lot of people. This was especially special to me because I loved everything about this. This was so gothic and whimsical, but still so funny. I love it when books are serious and whimsical and maybe even dark and depressing, but they still have this fun element. And the characters are sarcastic and funny, and it's just a fun time, even though you are at the edge of your seat and dreading what will happen to these characters next. This book is about Sybil. She is a diviner. That means she can sometimes see the future, but to see the future she must drown. So she drowns in the spring in this cathedral every so often, so people can get their future told by her. And then something weird happens. The new king arrives with a bunch of knights. She has 5 other diviners there. Those are her sisters. They grew up together. And they go out with the knights and go dancing and have fun. One by one, her sisters start to disappear until she's the only one left. And she has no idea what to do or how to find them. So she goes to Rory for help. And so she and Rory and the king are setting off on a journey to find her fellow diviners and save them and bring them back. I love how Rachel Gillick writes her romance. They never feel like they're the main plot, even though I think in this book it felt more like a big plot point than in her other series, which is One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns. I love how she's writing the romance and how she's writing the tension. She just gets it. She just gets what we want to read in a romance story. I feel like there's been so many insta-love kind of stories out there, especially promoted by TikTok. I just need them to yearn, and I need them to have actual tension. This was just everything to me. I loved this. I think most of you have probably already read this. I still wanted to mention it because I love it so much. As a surprise guest, we have a novella. We have 6 Scorched Roses, which is a novella in the Serpent and the Wings of Night universe. And I didn't expect this to be the best book of the series, but it was. This was such an interesting story, and I wish it had been so much longer because it was definitely the best one. And so this is about Lilith, and Lilith lives in a village that is being plagued by a disease that has been sent by the gods, and she has no other option than to turn to this weird old vampire that she knows and ask him for help. And I don't really want to say anything more, but the story kind of moves on from there, and this was the best story of the entire universe to me so far, which is insane because it only has 234 pages in the German edition. I'm not sure how many pages the English edition has, but probably not many more. And this was amazing. If you think that skipping on the novellas is fine, please don't skip on these spin-off books or the novellas. There's also Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, which I also loved more, I think, than the original stories. please don't skip on these spin-off books from this series. Now we have some childhood favorites, and both of them have been written by Jennifer Armentrout. I grew up loving Jennifer Armentrout. I think I own about 60 books of hers, because that woman writes so many books. And I think most people know her for the From Blood and Ash series, which I actually didn't really like. But some of her other books, especially the YA books, because that was the time when I was reading them, they have such a special place in my heart because she has such a writing style that really called to me. And the first one that really shaped me as a reader it's called Dark Element series in Germany, but I will put the other covers here. The first one is called White Hot Kiss. This is about a girl named Layla, and she grows up in a gargoyle family. And the gargoyles are kind of like the protectors of the humans. People know that gargoyles exist. Gargoyles are demon hunters and they protect humans from the demons, but humans don't know that that is what the gargoyles are doing. Since Layla grew up in this family as well, and she wants to be a part of it so bad because she has no other family of herself, she also goes hunting. She's half demon, half gargoyle, and that makes her kind of special and also an outcast. Because of her demonic side, one kiss can steal a human's soul, and that is why she can never kiss a person, especially not Zane, who she has a huge crush on, and who is one of those gargoyles who lives in her family and is the son of the clan chief. That can never happen, and also she is pretty sure that he sees only a sister in her. So she goes hunting with them on her own, and she kind of gets lured into a trap by a demon and is saved by another demon. And that demon is Roth. And Roth is obviously charmingly handsome. Yeah, Layla kind of learns that maybe not having a soul isn't so bad, because Astaroth doesn't have a soul, which means that she could kiss him if she wanted. And so that kind of gets the ball rolling, and I love these stories so much. It is 3 books in the original series, and then there's a spin-off series with 3 books about Zane. I haven't done a reread in a while. I should do that again because these have such sentimental value to me, because as I said, these are some of the books that made me start reading as much as I read today. I always liked reading and always read a few books a year, but never as much as I did when I started reading these. And it is also when I started buying books and not borrowing them from the library and bringing them back. And that is why this is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. And as I said, I also really love JLA's writing style, which is why Obsidian is another one of my all-time favorite fantasy series, although I'm not sure you can call this fantasy because it's about aliens, which is wild. I got these from the library when I was younger. I think I was 14, 15. And I accidentally got the second book before the first one. And I was so confused, but I read the entire second book. And then I figured out that I had to read the first one first, and the librarian didn't tell me, which still makes me kind of confused, because why wouldn't she tell me? This is about an alien race called Lux, and they came to Earth because their home planet was destroyed. And no one knows about this. People don't know about this. This kind of is a classic story. Girl moves to town, hot neighbor, and there are strange things happening. So Katie Swartz goes there. She's a book blogger, actually, and she goes to live in this new town, and she needs something from the neighbors, so she kind of goes to the door and wants to say hi and also ask for something. And then this guy opens. He's called Damon. Hot body, incredible face, horrible attitude, the holy trinity of hot boys. Something like that. That's not really the quote, but something along those lines. And it is a little bit cliche, but I still love it anyway. But Katie starts noticing some weird things. There's some weird things going on. And so she kind of discovered that her neighbors aren't really humans. They're actually aliens in human bodies. It is a really fun, like a YA romance story. Although it gets really dark in the later books, it was still so much fun reading these, and I still feel very nostalgic towards them. I just really connected to Jennifer Armentrout's writing style. It was easy to digest. It wasn't overly complicated. It still gave me feelings. It was tension-filled and action-packed, and that was everything I wanted as a 15-year-old for my books. I'm not sure if they hold up. To be honest, I will have to test that sometime. They are underrated. I think they should get more attention because when I read them, I really, really loved them, and I will never part with these. That concludes my all-time favorite fantasy books. I am very sure that I have forgotten some, but I can't remember right now. And there will probably be some new favorites that will be added soon because you guys are giving me the biggest TBR ever. But I thought this would be a fun way for you to get to know me and to get to know a little bit more about my book tastes. And yeah, or you can write me which of these books you have read and what you thought of them. That would be really interesting. I also encourage you to please write in the comments if you thought something. If you didn't like any of the books, I am really curious to see if any of you loved them or if you didn't love them. Thank you guys so much for watching and staying till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!